The morning sun filtered through the windows of Corner Cafe, casting long shadows across the wooden tables. Alex sat in his usual spot by the window, surrounded by astronomy textbooks and papers covered in equations. His laptop screen showed star charts and radio signal patterns that had been keeping him awake for weeks. At 28, Alex had spent the last 3 years working on his graduate research about space communication. Everyone thought he was crazy for believing that someone out there might be trying to talk to us. His professors smiled politely when he presented his theories, but he could see the doubt in their eyes. The cafe was nearly empty at this early hour. Just the usual morning crowd, old Mr. Peterson reading his newspaper, the barista wiping down tables, and a few students like himself trying to finish assignments before class. Alex liked the quiet. It helped him think. He was staring at a particularly puzzling radio signal pattern when a shadow fell across his table. Looking up, he saw a young woman standing beside him. She had the most unusual silver streaks running through her dark hair, and her eyes seemed to catch the light in a way that made them almost glow. She was using a walking stick and moved with careful, deliberate steps. "Excuse me," she said softly, her voice carrying a slight accent he couldn't place. "Are you Alex Chen?" Alex nodded, surprised. He didn't recognize her, but something about her voice made his heart skip a beat. It was familiar in a way that made no sense. "Do you remember me?" she asked, sitting down across from him without waiting for an invitation. "I'm the girl you helped 5 years ago at the old observatory on Miller's Hill." Alex frowned, trying to remember. 5 years ago. He had been an undergraduate student doing late-night observations for his astronomy class. There had been one strange night that he could barely recall. Fragments of memories that felt more like a dream than reality. "I'm sorry," he said, closing his laptop. "I don't think we've met before. What's your name?" "Luna," she replied, studying his face carefully. "Luna Kess? And yes, we have met. You saved my life that night." The name meant nothing to him, but as she spoke, flashes of memory began to surface. A bright light in the sky, the sound of something crashing in the woods behind the observatory, his decision to investigate, even though every instinct told him to stay away. "The meteor," Alex said suddenly, the words coming from somewhere deep in his memory. "There was a meteor that night, or at least, I thought it was a meteor." Luna's eyes brightened. "Yes, you remember. You found me in the woods. I was hurt and scared, and you helped me." More memories flooded back, but they were strange and fragmented. He remembered finding someone in the woods, but the details were fuzzy. There had been an injured person, a girl about his age. She had been speaking in a language he didn't understand, and she had looked different somehow. But every time he tried to focus on the memory, it slipped away like water through his fingers. "Why can't I remember clearly?" Alex asked, rubbing his temples. A headache was building behind his eyes. Luna reached into her bag and pulled out a small, silver device about the size of a smartphone. It hummed softly and emitted a gentle blue light. As soon as she activated it, Alex's headache began to fade, and the memories became clearer. "They gave you something to make you forget," Luna explained. "The people who came after you helped me. They didn't want you to remember what really happened that night." "Who are they?" Alex asked, but he was more interested in the device in her hands. "And what is that thing?" "It's a memory enhancer," Luna said simply. "It helps undo the effects of memory suppression. As for who they are, that's a longer story." Alex stared at the device, his scientific mind racing. The technology was unlike anything he had ever seen. The blue light seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, and he could feel his memories becoming clearer with each passing second. "This is impossible," he whispered. "This kind of technology doesn't exist." Luna smiled sadly. "Not here on Earth, no. But I'm not entirely from Earth, Alex. Neither is this device." The cafe suddenly felt very quiet. Even the usual morning sounds, the coffee machine, conversations, traffic outside, seemed to fade away. Alex looked at Luna more carefully. Her silver hair wasn't dyed. He realized it was natural. And her eyes weren't just reflecting the light, they were actually glowing very faintly. You're saying you're, what, an alien? Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Not exactly. Luna replied, I was born here, but my parents weren't. My people came to Earth about 30 years ago. We didn't plan to stay, but circumstances changed. Alex felt like the world was tilting around him. Everything he thought he knew about that night 5 years ago was wrong. Everything he thought he knew about the universe was wrong. Why are you telling me this? He asked. If it was such a secret that they made me forget, why are you bringing back my memories now? Luna's expression grew serious. Because I need your help, Alex. My people are in danger, and you're the only human who has ever helped one of us before. The only one who saw us as people rather than specimens to be studied. She reached across the table and touched his hand. Her skin was warm, completely normal. But Alex could feel a slight tingling sensation where she touched him. The government facility where they took me that night. They've been holding some of my people there for research. They're planning to move us all to a more secure location. If that happens, we'll never see freedom again. Alex pulled his hand back, overwhelmed. I don't understand any of this. 5 years ago, I was just a college student who liked looking at stars. I'm not a hero or a secret agent or anything like that. You don't have to be a hero, Luna said. Gently, you just have to be the same person you were that night, someone who helps others when they need it. She stood up slowly, supporting herself with her walking stick. Alex noticed that she moved with practiced grace, as if she had been using the aid for a long time. I know this is a lot to process, she said. I'll be at the park by the old observatory tomorrow evening at sunset. If you decide you want to hear the rest of the story, meet me there. If not, the memory enhancer's effects will fade in a few days, and you can go back to your normal life. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Alex, helping me that night was the kindest thing anyone has ever done for me. You didn't know what I was or where I came from, but you saw that I needed help, and you gave it without asking for anything in return. That's the kind of person the universe needs more of. As Luna walked away, Alex sat frozen in his chair, staring at the spot where she had been sitting. His coffee had gone cold, his research forgotten. Everything he thought he knew about his life, about the universe, about that strange night 5 years ago, had just been turned upside down. He looked out the window and saw Luna getting into an old blue car. As she drove away, Alex noticed that the license plate was unlike any he had ever seen. The letters and numbers seemed to shimmer and change as he watched. Alex gathered his things with shaking hands. He had less than 24 hours to decide whether to learn the truth about that night, about Luna, and about the secret that had been hidden from him for 5 years. Part of him wanted to ignore what had just happened, to go back to his simple life of studying stars and writing papers. But a bigger part of him, the same part that had made him investigate that crash 5 years ago, was already counting the hours until sunset. Alex couldn't concentrate on anything for the rest of the day. He sat through his classes without hearing a word his professors said. His mind kept replaying the conversation with Luna, turning over every detail like pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit together. That evening, he found himself driving toward Miller's Hill without really deciding to go there. The old observatory had been abandoned for years, but students still used the area for stargazing. As he parked his car near the familiar trail, memories began flooding back with startling clarity. It had been a cold October night 5 years ago. Alex was 23 then, excited about his first real research project. His astronomy professor had given him permission to use the old telescope for his undergraduate thesis on meteor patterns. He had been tracking what looked like an unusual object approaching Earth's atmosphere. The memory came back in vivid detail. Now, he had been adjusting the telescope when a brilliant flash lit up the entire sky. At first, he thought it was just a meteor burning up in the atmosphere. But this light was different. It pulsed and changed colors as it streaked across the stars. Then came the sound, not the whistle of a falling meteor, but something else. Entirely, a low humming noise that seemed to vibrate through the ground itself. The object had crashed somewhere in the dense woods behind the observatory. and Alex had seen an orange glow through the trees. He should have called someone. The police, the fire department, someone official. But he was young and curious, and something about that strange humming sound drew him forward. He grabbed a flashlight from his car and headed into the woods. The crash site was about half a mile from the observatory, and a small clearing surrounded by tall pine trees. What he found there changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. It wasn't a meteor. The object was smooth and metallic, about the size of a small car, with no sharp edges or visible seams. It was partially buried in the soft earth, and strange symbols glowed faintly along its surface. The air around it shimmered like heat waves, even though it was a cold night. That's when he heard the crying. Luna had been trapped under a piece of the craft that had broken off during the crash. She was conscious but clearly in pain, speaking in a language that sounded like music mixed with mathematics. When she saw Alex approaching with his flashlight, she tried to hide, pressing herself against the metallic hull of her ship. "It's okay," Alex had said softly, the way he might calm a frightened animal. "I'm not going to hurt you." Even in his recovered memory, Alex couldn't quite focus on exactly how Luna had looked that night. His mind seemed to slide away from certain details, but he remembered her fear, and how it had gradually turned to trust as he helped free her from the debris. She had been injured. Her left leg was clearly broken, and she had a deep cut on her forehead that was bleeding a strange, silver-colored liquid. Alex had used his jacket to stop the bleeding and fashioned a splint from a fallen branch. Throughout it all, Luna had watched him with those same glowing eyes, speaking in her musical language. Somehow, they had managed to communicate despite the language barrier. She had pointed to herself and said something that sounded like Luna. When Alex repeated the name, she had smiled, the first time she had seemed truly unafraid. For almost 3 hours, they had sat together in that clearing. Luna had shown him some kind of handheld device that projected holographic images. She seemed to be trying to explain where she came from, showing him star maps and what looked like other worlds. Alex had shared his own knowledge, sketching constellation patterns in the dirt and pointing to different stars. During those hours, something amazing had happened. Luna had begun to understand English, picking up words and phrases with incredible speed. By the time the government agents arrived, she was speaking in broken but understandable sentences. The agents had appeared without warning, emerging from the woods like shadows. They wore dark uniforms with no identifying badges, and they moved with military precision. Alex had tried to protect Luna, standing between her and the approaching figures, but they had been outnumbered. "Step away from the subject," one of them had ordered, his voice cold and mechanical. "She's hurt." Alex had protested. "She needs medical attention, not whatever you're planning to do. The subject will receive appropriate care. You need to come with us for debriefing." They had separated Alex from Luna despite his protests. The last thing he remembered clearly was Luna calling his name as they loaded her into some kind of containment unit. Then one of the agents had approached him with a small device that looked similar to the memory enhancer Luna had shown him. At the cafe, "This won't hurt," the agent had said. "You'll just forget about tonight. Go back to your normal life." The next thing Alex knew, he was waking up in his dorm room with no memory of the previous night. His professors told him the observatory had been damaged by a small meteor strike and would be closed for repairs. His research project was reassigned to a different topic. For months afterward, Alex had suffered from strange dreams and headaches. He would wake up with fragments of memories that made no sense, images of glowing symbols, the sound of musical language, and always, the feeling that he had lost something important. Now, sitting in his car 5 years later, Alex finally understood what those dreams had meant. Luna had been real. Her ship, her people, everything had been real. And somewhere, government agents were holding her and others like her as research subjects. His phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Thank you for remembering. The truth is more important than you know. Tomorrow at sunset, I'll show you what happened to my people after that night. What you did for me gave me hope." that humans and my kind could understand each other. Now I need your help to save the others." Alex stared at the message for a long time. Part of him was terrified. Getting involved with government conspiracies and secret alien refugees could destroy his life. He could lose his academic career. His family might think he was crazy. And there was no telling what those agents might do to keep their secrets. But another part of him, the same part that had walked into those woods 5 years ago, knew that Luna was counting on him. She had trusted him once when she was vulnerable and afraid. Now she was trusting him again, not just with her own safety, but with the lives of her entire community. As he drove home through the quiet streets, Alex made his decision. Tomorrow evening, he would meet Luna at the park. He would listen to her story, learn about her people, and figure out how to help them. It was the right thing to do, even if it meant his comfortable, predictable life was about to become very complicated. After all, some things were more important than safety. Some things were worth the risk. The next evening, Alex arrived at the park 30 minutes early. His hands were sweating despite the cool autumn air, and he kept checking his phone for the time. Part of him hoped Luna wouldn't show up, so he could go back to his normal life and pretend none of this was real. But at exactly sunset, he saw her walking toward him across the grass. She moved more confidently than she had at the cafe, and Alex noticed she was carrying a small backpack along with her walking stick. "You came," she said, smiling with genuine relief. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't," Alex admitted. "This is all pretty overwhelming." Luna sat down on the park bench beside him, setting her backpack carefully at her feet. "I know it is. When I was your age, I learned the truth about my family's past, and it took me months to accept it all." "How many of you are there?" Alex asked. "I mean, here on Earth." "About 100, Luna replied. "Most people don't know we exist. We've learned to blend in, to live quiet lives and not draw attention to ourselves." She reached into her backpack and pulled out what looked like a normal tablet computer. But when she touched the screen, holographic images appeared in the air. Above it, just like Alex remembered from that night 5 years ago. "This is where we come from," Luna said, showing him an image of a beautiful blue and green planet with 3 moons. "It was called Keth in our language. It was dying when my parents' generation left." The hologram shifted to show spaceships leaving the planet. They were sleek and graceful. Nothing like the bulky rockets humans used. 37 ships escaped before the end. Most went to other star systems, but 3 ships came to Earth. "Why Earth?" Alex asked, fascinated despite his nervousness. "Your radio and television signals." Luna explained. "My people had been monitoring them for decades. Earth seemed like a place where different kinds of beings could live together peacefully, at least. That's what we thought." The hologram changed again, showing the 3 ships approaching Earth. 2 of the ships made it safely to your planet. The third one, that was my parents' ship, was damaged by space debris during the landing. It crashed in your Pacific Ocean. Alex watched as the holographic story unfolded. Luna's parents and about 60 other survivors had made it to shore, but they were injured and their technology was damaged. They had tried to make contact with human governments, hoping for help and friendship. Instead, your military captured them. Luna continued, her voice growing sad. They were taken to secret facilities and treated like dangerous animals instead of refugees seeking help. "That's horrible," Alex said, meaning it. "But how did you end up living freely? And how were you born here?" Luna smiled slightly. "Not all humans are like those military officers. There were good people working in those facilities, doctors, and scientists who saw that my people were intelligent beings who deserved respect and kindness." The hologram showed what looked like an underground laboratory, but it was filled with plants and soft lighting instead of cold metal and harsh fluorescent bulbs. "Dr. Rachel Kim was one of those good people," Luna said. "She was a young biologist assigned to study my people. Instead of treating them like test subjects, she talked to them, learned their language, and became their friend over several years." Dr. Kim had helped Luna's people escape from the government facility. She had used her security clearance to create false identities for them, and found them a place to live where they would be safe. Where? Alex asked. Luna stood up, shouldering her backpack. I'll show you. But Alex, once you see this, there's no going back. You'll become part of our secret, and that means your life will never be the same. Alex thought about this for a moment. His quiet academic life, his research, his predictable future, all of it would change if he followed Luna now. But when he looked at her, he saw the same frightened girl he had helped 5 years ago. Except now she was asking for his help to save others. Show me, he said. Luna led him to her car. The same old blue sedan he had seen her driving away from the cafe. As they drove through the city, Alex noticed they were heading toward the industrial district, where old warehouses and abandoned factories lined the streets. It's not what you'd expect, Luna said as they pulled into what looked like the parking lot of a closed textile factory. Dr. Kim was very clever about hiding us. They walked to what appeared to be a maintenance entrance on the side of the building. Luna pressed her hand against a small panel hidden behind some overgrown vines, and Alex heard a soft chime. The door opened silently. Welcome to Haven, Luna said. Alex followed her through the doorway and gasped. What he saw was nothing like the abandoned factory he had expected. Instead, he found himself in a vast underground space that had been transformed into something magical. The ceiling was covered with what looked like a starry night sky, but Alex realized it was actually some kind of advanced lighting system that mimicked the constellations from Luna's homeworld. Gardens of strange and beautiful plants grew in raised beds throughout the space, and the air smelled like flowers and fresh rain. People moved through the underground community with quiet purpose. Some looked completely human, while others had subtle differences, the same silver-streaked hair as Luna, or eyes that glowed softly in the dim light. Children played in a central area while adults worked at what looked like advanced computer stations. There are about 150 of us living here, Luna explained as they walked through the community. The others are scattered around the world, living normal human lives but staying in contact through our communication network. An elderly woman approached them, moving with the help of a walker, but radiating authority and wisdom. Her hair was completely silver, and her eyes held depths that seemed to contain centuries of experience. Alex, Luna said respectfully, this is Elder Kaya. She leads our community. Elder Kaya studied Alex with those ancient eyes, and he felt like she was reading his very soul. Finally, she smiled and extended her hand. Luna has told me much about you, she said in accented but perfect English. You are the young human who showed kindness to a frightened girl in the woods. I just did what anyone would do, Alex replied, shaking her hand. No, Elder Kaya said firmly. Most humans would have run away or called your authorities or tried to capture Luna for study. You saw a person in need of help, and you helped. That is why we have been watching you. Watching me? Alex asked, suddenly worried. Luna placed a gentle hand on his arm. Your research. Alex, your work on space communication patterns. You've been studying the signals from our original distress calls without knowing it, Elder Kaya nodded. Your academic papers have been circulating in the scientific community. You are one of the few humans who truly understands how interplanetary communication might work. We need that knowledge. They continued walking through the underground community, and Alex saw more amazing sights. There was a workshop where Luna's people were building advanced technology using salvaged human electronics. A school where children, some human, some alien, some clearly mixed heritage, learned together. A medical center where injured community members receive care that combine human medicine with alien healing techniques. This is incredible, Alex breathed. How long have you been building all this? 20 years, Elder Kaya replied. Dr. Kim helped us establish Haven, and we have been growing it ever since. But now, we face our greatest challenge. Luna's expression grew serious. The government facility where I was held, they've been capturing our people again. They have about 30 of our community members, including some children. They're planning to move them to a more secure location, Elder Kaya added. Once that happens, we will never see them again. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. What do you want me to do? I'm just a graduate student. I don't have any special skills or connections. You have something more important than skills or connections, Luna said. You have compassion, and you understand our communication systems better than any other human. With your help, we can contact sympathetic people in your government and media who can help us negotiate for our peoples. Freedom. Elder Kaya placed her weathered hand on Alex's shoulder. We are not asking you to be a hero, young one. We are asking you to be what you have always been, a bridge between our peoples. As Alex looked around at the underground community, seeing the hope and fear in the faces of Luna's people, he realized that his quiet academic life was already over. These people needed his help, and he was the only human who could provide it. The question now was whether he was brave enough to try. Alex spent 3 sleepless nights planning with Luna and Elder Kaya. The government facility was located 2 hours outside the city, disguised as a private research center. Getting inside would be nearly impossible, but they had one advantage: Alex's academic credentials. Dr. Helen Torres runs the xenobiology department there. Luna explained, showing Alex a photo on her tablet. She's been studying my people for years, but something changed recently. Our inside sources say she's been asking questions about our treatment. Elder Kaya nodded slowly. We believe she may be sympathetic to our cause, but we cannot be certain. It is a risk we must take. Alex had contacted Dr. Torres 3 days earlier, claiming to be a graduate student researching interplanetary communication patterns. He had mentioned his work on the radio signals, the same signals that had unknowingly been based on Luna's people's distress calls. Dr. Torres had been intrigued enough to invite him for a visit. Remember, Luna said as they sat in the car outside the research facility, you're just a curious student asking questions about theoretical alien communication. Don't mention that you know about us unless you're absolutely sure Dr. Torres can be trusted. Alex's hands were shaking as he walked up to the security checkpoint. The facility looked like any other corporate research building, with glass walls and modern architecture. But knowing what was happening inside made his stomach turn. The security guard checked Alex's ID against the visitor list and handed him a temporary badge. Dr. Torres is expecting you. Take the elevator to the 3rd floor. As Alex rode the elevator up, he tried to remember everything Luna had taught him about the facility's layout. The holding areas were in the basement levels, accessible only through secured elevators that required special clearance cards. Dr. Torres met him at the elevator doors. She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Alex, I'm so excited to meet you. Your research on extraterrestrial communication patterns is fascinating. She led him through hallways lined with laboratories and offices. Everything looked normal: scientists working at computers, technicians handling equipment, the usual bustle of academic research. But Alex knew the real work was happening floors below where he could see it. Your paper on radio signal interpretation caught my attention, Dr. Torres said as they entered her office. Particularly your theories about mathematical patterns in potential alien communications. How did you develop those ideas? Alex chose his words carefully. I've always believed that any intelligent species would use mathematics as a universal language. If someone was trying to communicate across space, they would probably embed mathematical concepts in their signals. Dr. Torres leaned forward with interest. What if I told you that you were absolutely right? What if I told you that we've been receiving exactly the kind of signals you described? This was the moment Alex had been waiting for. Are you saying you have evidence of alien communication? More than that? Dr. Torres said quietly, glancing toward her office door. Alex, what I'm about to show you is classified, but I think you deserve to know the truth. She led him to a secure computer terminal and entered a series of passwords. The screen filled with data that made Alex's heart race. It was identical to the signal patterns he had been studying for his thesis. These are distress calls, Dr. Torres explained. They've been repeating for over 30 years, getting weaker each year. We think they're automated messages from damaged ships. Alex pretended to be amazed, though inside he was calculating how to steer the conversation toward Luna's people. Have you ever tried to respond to these signals? Dr. Torres's expression grew troubled. That's complicated, Alex. The thing is, we're not just receiving these signals. We have the beings who sent them. What do you mean? Alex asked, though he already knew the answer. They're here, in this facility. They've been here for years. Dr. Torres stood up and began pacing. Alex, I've spent my career studying xenobiology, dreaming of the day we might make contact with alien life. But this isn't what I imagined. These beings are essentially prisoners. Alex felt a surge of hope. Dr. Torres was exactly the ally they needed. Prisoners? But why? Fear, mostly. The government classifies them as potential threats. Even though they've never shown any aggression, they're intelligent, peaceful. And they have families. Some of them have children who were born here on Earth. Dr. Torres sat back down, looking older than her years. I've been documenting everything. Their language, their culture, their technology, but also their treatment. And Alex, it's not right. These beings deserve freedom, not captivity. Is there anything we can do to help them? Alex asked. Dr. Torres studied him carefully. Why do you ask? This was the moment of truth. Alex took a deep breath and made his decision. Because I've met one of them. Her name is Luna, and she told me about the others being held here. For a long moment, Dr. Torres said nothing. Then she smiled sadly. I wondered when someone would come. Luna was one of my patients years ago, before she escaped. She was so young and frightened then. You knew she escaped. I helped her, Dr. Torres admitted. Along with several others over the years, I couldn't stand to see them suffering in those cells any longer. Alex felt relief wash over him. Then you'll help us get the others out? I've been planning exactly that, Dr. Torres said. But I needed someone on the outside to help coordinate. Someone who understands their communication systems and can help them once they're free. Over the next 2 hours, Dr. Torres showed Alex the facility's security systems and explained her plan. She had been slowly gaining access to higher security levels by volunteering for extra research projects. More importantly, she had been secretly documenting the conditions in the holding areas, gathering evidence that could expose the illegal detention. There are 28 of them currently in the facility, she explained. 15 adults and 13 children. Some have been here for over a decade. Alex felt sick thinking about children growing up in government cells. When can we get them out? Tomorrow night. There's a shift change at midnight, and security is lightest then. I can disable the cell locks and guide them to a service exit that leads to the parking garage. What about cameras and alarms? Dr. Torres smiled grimly. I've been studying this place for 5 years. I know every blind spot and every security weakness. The hard part will be getting them all out safely without being caught. They spent another hour going over details. Luna and several other community members would be waiting in the parking garage, with vehicles to transport the rescued individuals back to Haven. Alex would help coordinate communications using the alien devices Luna had taught him to operate. As Alex prepared to leave, Dr. Torres grabbed his arm. Alex, if we're caught, we'll both face serious criminal charges. Are you sure you want to do this? Alex thought about Luna, alone and frightened in the woods 5 years ago. He thought about the children growing up in basement cells, never seeing sunlight or playing in gardens like the ones at Haven. He thought about Elder Kaya and the hope in her ancient eyes. I'm sure, he said. The next evening, Alex sat in Luna's car in the parking garage, his heart pounding so hard he was sure everyone could hear it. Through his earpiece, he could hear Dr. Torres moving through the facility, using her access card to open secured doors. I'm at the holding level, Dr. Torres whispered. Beginning cell releases now. One by one, she freed Luna's people from their prison. Alex listened as frightened voices spoke in the musical language he remembered from that night in the woods. Dr. Torres had learned enough of their language to calm them and explain what was happening. We have a problem. Dr. Torres' voice crackled through the earpiece. One of the children is too sick to walk. We need more time. Security patrol in 5 minutes. Luna whispered back. We have to go now. Alex made a split-second decision. I'm coming in to help carry the child. No, Alex, it's too dangerous, Luna protested. But Alex was already out of the car, running toward the service entrance. He couldn't leave a sick child behind, not when he had the power to help. He met Dr. Torres and the escaping group halfway to the exit. The child, a little girl who couldn't have been more than 8 years old, was burning with fever and could barely stand. Without hesitation, Alex scooped her up in his arms. Go, he told the others. Get to the cars. As they reached the parking garage, Alex heard alarms beginning to sound throughout the facility. Security guards would be swarming the building. Within minutes, they know we're gone, Dr. Torres said, breathing hard from the run. Luna helped load the sick child into one of the vehicles. We have to split up. Alex, come with me. But Alex shook his head. Someone needs to stay behind. To slow down the security response, Dr. Torres, give me your access card and go with the others. I won't leave you, Luna said firmly. You have to, Alex replied. Your people need you to get them to safety. I'll be fine. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Alex will likely be arrested and face years in prison. But as he watched the vehicles full of free prisoners disappear into the night, he knew he had made the right choice. Some things were worth any sacrifice. 3 months later, Alex walked out of federal prison into bright morning sunlight. The charges against him had been dropped after an investigation revealed the illegal detention of Luna's people. But he had still spent 12 weeks in custody. While lawyers and government officials figured out what to do with him, Luna was waiting for him in the parking lot, leaning against her old blue car with a smile that could have powered the entire city. She looked healthier than he had ever seen her, with color in her cheeks and a brightness in her glowing eyes. How does it feel to be a free man? She asked as he approached. Strange, Alex admitted. I keep expecting someone to tell me I can't leave. Luna laughed and gave him a hug that felt like coming home after a long, difficult journey. Dr. Torres is waiting for us at Haven. She wants to show you what's been happening while you were away. As they drove through the city, Alex noticed that things looked different somehow. There were more people on the streets wearing silver-streaked hair openly, and he saw several individuals with the same subtle glow in their eyes that marked Luna's people. Are they not hiding anymore? Alex asked. Not all of them, Luna replied. When the story broke about the illegal detention center, many of our people decided it was time to stop living in secret. The world deserves to know we exist, the news. Media had picked up the story after Dr. Torres released her documentation to several major newspapers. The revelation that the government had been secretly holding peaceful alien refugees for decades had caused a massive scandal. Some politicians called for full disclosure about all alien contact, while others demanded stricter security measures. How has the public reaction been? Alex asked. Luna's expression grew more serious, mixed. Many humans have been welcoming and curious. They want to learn about our culture and technology. But others are afraid or angry that we've been living among them without their knowledge. They pulled into the familiar parking lot at Haven. But Alex noticed several new buildings had been constructed above ground. What had once been a hidden underground community was now a bustling settlement that extended up into the sunlight. Dr. Torres met them at the entrance, looking years younger than she had during their tense meeting at the research facility. Alex, it's so good to see you. Come, let me show you what we've been building. The transformation was remarkable. The underground areas had been expanded and improved. But now there were also surface buildings designed with a blend of human and alien architecture. Gardens filled with plants from Luna's home world grew alongside earth flowers, creating combinations of colors and scents that were breathtakingly beautiful. We've had over 1,000 human visitors in the past month, Dr. Torres explained. As they walked through the community, scientists, artists, teachers, politicians, people from all walks of life who want to understand our neighbors from the stars. Alex saw children playing together, some human, some alien, some clearly mixed heritage, their laughter echoing through the gardens. Adults worked side by side on projects that combined the best of both technologies, creating innovations that neither species could have achieved alone. The little girl you carried out that night, Luna said, pointing to a group of children playing near a fountain. That's her over there. Her name is Zara, and she's completely healthy now. Alex watched the child running and laughing with her friends and felt tears in his eyes. All the fear, all the risk, all the months in prison. It had been worth it for this moment. Elder Kaya approached them, moving more slowly than before, but still radiating wisdom and authority. Alex, my young friend, you have given us the greatest gift possible, the chance to live openly and in peace. I didn't do it alone, Alex replied. Luna and Dr. Torres were the real heroes. We all played our part, Elder Kaya said. But you were the bridge that made it possible. Your courage showed both our peoples that cooperation is possible. Over the following hours, Alex learned about all the changes that had occurred during his imprisonment. Several universities had established exchange programs with Haven, allowing students to learn about alien science and culture. Human doctors were working with alien healers to develop new medical treatments. Artists from both species were creating works that blended their different perspectives on beauty and meaning. There's something else, Luna said as the day wound down. Something I've been waiting to tell you. She led him to a new building at the edge of the community, one that looked like a cross between a radio telescope and a garden greenhouse. Inside, sophisticated communication equipment hummed quietly while plants from Luna's home world grew in carefully controlled environments. This is our new communications center, Luna explained. We've been using your research to establish contact with our people on other worlds. Alex, we're not alone anymore. Alex stared at the equipment in amazement. You mean there are other communities like this? 17 so far, Luna said proudly. Refugee settlements on different planets, all staying in contact now. And some of the original colony ships that left our home world, they're still out there, still traveling between the stars. She showed him recordings of conversations with other communities, humans, and Luna's people working together on worlds he had never imagined. On one planet, they had built floating cities above methane seas. On another, they lived in crystal caves that sang with harmonic frequencies. The network is growing every day. Luna continued, and it all started with your research on communication patterns. You helped us find our scattered family. As the sun set over Haven, Alex found himself sitting with Luna on a hill overlooking the community. Below them, lights began to come on in the buildings, and he could hear the sounds of families sharing dinner, children being tucked into bed, and the quiet conversations of people planning for tomorrow. What happens now? Alex asked. Luna smiled and took his hand. Now we build the future together. I've been offered a position as an ambassador to the United Nations, helping to establish formal relationships between Earth and the other settled worlds. That's amazing, Alex said. What about you? What are your plans? I was hoping you might help me with that, Luna replied. There's a new university program starting next year, Sinocultural Studies, focusing on communication and cooperation between species. They need someone who understands both human and alien perspectives. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. Are you asking me to teach? I'm asking you to help shape the future, Luna said. To train the next generation of humans and aliens who will work together to explore the galaxy, to be the bridge you've always been, but on a scale we never imagined possible. Alex looked out over Haven, thinking about everything that had led him to this moment. 5 years ago, he had been a lonely graduate student studying radio signals from space, never imagining that those signals would lead him to friendship, adventure, and a purpose bigger than anything he had ever dreamed. I have one question, Alex said. What's that? Do you think they'll let me keep my research on alien communication patterns? I'd hate to have to start over from scratch, Luna laughed. The sound carrying across the gardens like music. I think we can arrange that. As the stars came out overhead, the same stars that connected Haven to communities across the galaxy, Alex realized that his quiet academic life hadn't ended when he met Luna at that cafe. It had transformed into something far more meaningful. He was no longer just studying the universe. He was helping to build it, one friendship at a time, one bridge at a time, one act of kindness at a time. And in the distance, He could hear children laughing in languages both human and alien, their voices carrying the promise of a future where difference was celebrated, where fear was replaced by curiosity, and where the universe was just a little bit more connected than it had been the day before.